I chose Grails and Groovy back in 2009 when I was looking for a replacement for Struts framework on an application I was doing. And I had heard Guillaume Laforge talk on Groovy and Grails 101 at a couple of conferences, and I found it very intriguing and very interesting. So that was kind of my way into the Groovy and Grails space. And then I asked Guillaume if he could do a talk on Groovy and Grails in our Danish Java user group, and it eventually turned into a conference series that we're doing now, GreatConf.
Okay, I choose this talk because we develop with Grails application, and we have the problems that the whole team, the whole development team, doesn't have the same environment, which is a problem, and that environment is not the same as in production, which is also a problem. So Docker is a great technology to create this container with the same environment for all the development team. So you can develop inside the containers, and you don't need to worry about all the dependencies of your applications.
For a year now, OCI has been the new home of Grails. The core Grails team has been at OCI for about a year. We've grown the team during that year from just the two of us, Graham and myself, a year ago, to now we've got 12 people working full-time in the practice, and that's going very, very well. We've got customers, we're engaging customers in a number of ways. We sell support contracts for Grails. We do consulting and project work for Grails, and also deliver a lot of training. So, and all of that is helping us continue to move the technology forward, and that's all going very, very well. So, some things about testing in Grails in particular that are compelling to developers are related to the fact that we use Groovy, a really powerful dynamic language for lots of things in Grails, and that enables lots of possibilities that we wouldn't have with other languages like Java, for example. An example is AST transformation. So Groovy allows us at compile time to do a lot of interesting things that we can't do with a language like Java. So for example, in a test at compile time, we can add a lot of capabilities to the test that relate to the kind of test that the developer is authoring. Right? So when you're testing a controller, there are different kinds of interactions that you're going to want to express than if you're testing a tag library or a domain class. And at compile time, we're able to recognize what type of artifact you're testing and augment the test in a way that's appropriate for that. So that's one example of things we can do when writing tests in Groovy that we couldn't do if those same kinds of tests were written in another language like Java.
Perfect.
Is good?
Yeah.
Too long, too short?
Okay, GrooveScript is a little library to convert Groovy code to JavaScript, and there are a few things that I have done around that library. For example, a Gradle plugin and a Grails plugin. So in Grails, you have both things. You have Gradle and you have Grails. So you can add both plugins and work with them to create a lot of things in Groovy that will work in your client side in JavaScript.
So I'm going to cover essentially all what a Grails developer needs to know in order to create a Grails 3 plugins. So mostly the basics, and also what has changed over the Grails 2 plugin system. Some tips to help the people to do a better job creating plugins, and that's pretty much it. So I think the most important advice I'm going to give you the people is to break a plugin down into multiple modules, because that's much easier to manage, much easier to test, and also to publish. So you end up with smaller modules, and also once you have a multi-module plugin, what I will explain is how a smart strategy to test them using profiles. That's essentially.
Creating JSON with the JSON views in Grails 3.1
it's more easy and clear than using another technologies or another ways like marshallers with Groovy, the common uses of marshallers in Groovy, and of course in Java. So I think that now with this technology, for all the developers that use JSON for microservices or something like that, we'll be very grateful with this technology from Grails.
Perfect.
See?
So I did a talk on, it was called Dynamic GORM, and it was really a kind of a collection of several small topics. And it wasn't all entirely dynamic, but it was, for example, one of the things I was talking about was composing closures and parts into a criteria query. And also I announced a new library of a handful of utility classes and helper classes and some bug fixes called GORM Utils that we're going to release, the company I work for, as an open source helper project. One example is that the SQL that Hibernate generates can be very hard to read. It uses a lot of aliases and they're kind of cryptic and kind of hard to read. And it also it puts in question marks where the values are, and it can be hard to know what the actual values were. And you can set up the logging to get it, but it's a lot of work and it's very ugly. So I created a SQL cleaner and a placeholder replacer, so it'll actually convert all your SQL statements.
So I just gave a talk on the latest innovations in Grails 3. The Grails 3.1 release that we did recently has a number of key features, from profiles, which allow you to create different kinds of applications that target different use cases. For example, whether you're creating a REST-backed web services style application or a traditional request response application with the reviews rendered on the server. Profiles have a capability that support you. I also discussed the new REST API profile specifically, which has a great new feature for rendering JSON views. Those are views that essentially allow you to customize the response of your HTTP REST services JSON output in a really neat and customizable way using a Groovy DSL for producing JSON. And finally, I gave a talk on GORM, which is a GORM 5. GORM is the data access technology that's built into Grails. GORM 5 is the latest release of that, and it really evolved GORM into a much more complete framework that supports the latest MongoDB release, the latest version of Neo4j, as well as Hibernate 5, providing you complete data access package to all of your different kinds of backend data services, and that's all in Grails 3.1.
So I was talking about the Fame application that we have built, and the talk that I have presented here, I named it as the Great Road to Fame. So we have built this technology, this application on Grails and Groovy, and we have also used Spring Boot as the microservices. And by this application, you can broadcast your talent live to the viewers who are eagerly waiting for you to come alive, and you can they can watch your videos, they can like your videos, they can interact with you, and the stuff like this.
We have a platform to sell tickets, to exchange tickets between fans. So, and we use Grails to build this platform. And the idea is that we started having problems with the money, and we decided to build a plugin to solve these problems, because we're starting having problems with managing the accuracy, with managing of the currency exchanges. So at the end we decided to build a new type, and this type is money, to solve all our problems in the platform.